More people are traveling now than at any point in human history. With the advent of smartphones and cheap airfare, it's never been easier to explore the far corners of the world. But there are some areas that even the most intrepid travelers will never visit. Either because of government ordinance or physical difficulty, these places are isolated from the rest of the world. From alien compounds to Arctic volcanoes, we're exploring 10 places you're not allowed to visit. Norway is a very progressive country in many ways. Their sovereign wealth fund guarantees that Norwegians will retain their opulence for many centuries to come. But they're also concerned about maintaining the world's biodiversity, as numerous species go extinct every day. In particular, they're concerned that a cataclysmic event would destroy the world's crops. So as a precaution, they've created the Svalbard Global Seed Vault. Way up north in the permafrost, 1,300 kilometers beyond the Arctic Circle, is the world's largest secure seed storage, opened by the Norwegian government in February 2008. From all across the globe, crates of seeds are sent here for safe and secure long-term storage in cold and dry rock vaults. Worldwide, more than 1,700 gene banks hold collections of food crops for safekeeping, yet many of these are vulnerable, exposed not only to natural catastrophes and war but also to avoidable disasters, such as lack of funding or poor management. Something as mundane as a poorly functioning freezer can ruin an entire collection. That's why the Svalbard Seed Vault has been designed to remain ultra-secure, maintain a constant temperature, and keep a series of backups for each seed. Of course, the Seed Vault is not open to the public. Instead, only a team of highly trained scientists can access the vault, according to an international treaty signed in 2001. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang is one of the most impressive ancient sites in the world. The mausoleum took more than 38 years to build. This was the vast majority of Qin Shi Huang's life, as he only lived to be 49. As the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, Shi Huang rose to the throne when he was only 13, and by the time of his death, he had united all of modern-day China. Of course, he wanted a fitting memorial for all of his accomplishments, and his tomb was of national importance. The most famous element of the mausoleum is the terracotta army. Qin Shi Huang decided to have his entire army painstakingly recreated in clay. Scattered across 3 subterranean pits are more than 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 150 cavalry horses. And of course, this is only a small portion of the complex. There's also an underground mini-pyramid and a series of underground cities. Around the perimeter of the crypt is a mass grave where the workers were dumped. Many were still wearing shackles, proving that slave labor was responsible for most of the work. While a small portion of the complex is available to the public, most is still being excavated and is totally off limits to everyone but high-ranking Chinese officials. Many people consider Area 51 to be the most famous military base in the world. Of course, this top-secret facility has been immortalized in everything from books to movies and video games, but no one knows precisely what happens beyond those locked gates. Conspiracy theories abound. Many believe that alien specimens are kept here. Others even believe that the 1969 moon landing was filmed here on a soundstage. The site is heavily guarded by armed personnel and a series of elaborate sensors, and the government is as tight-lipped as ever. In fact, Area 51 wasn't even formally acknowledged by the government until 2005. While the base is said by conspiracy theorists to be the site of everything from time travel research, an underground transcontinental railroad, and of course a secret lab where aliens work with the government to reverse engineer alien technology, there's little evidence for any of the fanciful claims that people have made. Its more likely use is just as exciting: a secret testing space for experimental aircraft of a terrestrial nature, many of which could easily be considered unidentified flying objects. The US government shows no signs of declassifying this information anytime soon, so until then, UFO enthusiasts will just need to speculate. Dating back to the 4th century BC, the Ise Grand Shrine is one of Japan's most distinctive landmarks. The only problem is most citizens have never seen it, as it's closed to the general public. Many consider it to be the spiritual home of the Japanese, because it's the home of the national Shinto religion. The shrine is dedicated to the sun goddess Amaterasu, with a separate shrine dedicated to Toyuke, the food goddess. Decorative elements of the shrine include gold-plated caps on the post ends and 33 suidama, or flaming orbs, along the veranda railings. The roof is made from thatch using kaya grass, and the poles of the roof extend beyond the ridgepole to form a row of external V-forms. Due to a long-standing tradition, both of the buildings are destroyed and rebuilt every 20 years to represent the impermanence of physical structures. The current rendition of the shrine, built in 2013, is the 62nd identical iteration so far, and the 63rd will be completed in 2033. Because of the massive undertaking, it requires $500 million from the Japanese government every 20 years. The shrines are still used for holy pilgrimages, though the government tries to discourage tourists from attempting to visit. one of the greatest troves of historical documents in the world. The Vatican's secret archives are home to thousands of ancient texts, decrees, and correspondences. The contents of the archives are sealed off and revealed only with the explicit consent of the Pope himself. Over the years, very specific areas in the archives have been made available to scholars, under close supervision of the Church. It was not until 1881 that Pope Leo XIII allowed researchers to view some of the archive's contents. However, it was no simple matter for one to view the documents, and the procedure has not changed much over the last 200 years. First of all, journalists, students, and amateur historians are not given access. Once an interested party has proven that he or she is a serious enough scholar, credentials are granted that must be renewed every 6 months. Of course, these documents are also home to plenty of controversy. Conspiracy theorists believe they contain secrets surrounding the apocalypse and seedy information from the Church's past. There are even confirmations from scholars that the archives contain the largest collection of ancient erotica in the world. But of course, the Church won't let anyone near those embarrassing documents. When you think of Italy, most people picture amazing cuisine, beautiful nature, and ancient architecture. Few people would imagine a haunted island, but that's exactly what you find on Poveglia Island, off the coast of northern Italy. Poveglia was constructed on a permanent fortification built by the Venetian government, and from 1793 to 1814 was used as a plague quarantine station, or lazaretto, one of many in the Venetian lagoon. The tiny island is said to have hosted over 160,000 infected souls living out their final days, so many that there are whispers that 50% of the soil consists of human remains. The island was converted into an insane asylum until it was abandoned in 1968. It has not been inhabited since, but many believe that the horrific history of this island has haunted it forever. Though special permits are occasionally granted to supernatural experts, the general public is forbade from stepping foot on the island. In 2014, the Italian government attempted to auction the island off, but found minimal interest from a thoroughly spooked public. The Lascaux Caves outside the sleepy town of Montignac in France have been at the epicenter of the anthropological world for many years. The caves contain more than 600 paintings dating from as old as 17,000 years ago. The caves were rediscovered in 1940 when an 18-year-old local found that his dog had fallen in a hole. He returned with his friends to discover that the caves were part of a dense patchwork of subterranean marvels. The boys, in awe of what they had found, told their teacher, after which the process toward excavating the cave was set in motion. By 1948, the cave was open to the public. The caves feature mostly animal imagery. Horses are the most numerous, but deer, aurochs, ibex, bison, and even some felines can also be found. Besides these paintings, which represent most of the major images, there are also around 1,400 engravings of a similar order. Because the paintings are so ancient, it's extremely difficult to interpret their meaning. Historians have theories ranging from fertility to sacrifice, but none can be confirmed. Of course, the paintings are extremely delicate and sensitive to any change in humidity, even as small as a human breath. Thus, they are off limits to virtually everyone. However, the Lascaux Cave Project has attempted to document the caves and make them publicly available. The residents of North Sentinel Island in the Bay of Bengal are one of the last groups of people on Earth with no knowledge of modern technology. According to Indian law, the native tribe on the island has the right to be left alone. Outsiders are forbidden from visiting the island under any circumstances. Very little is known about the Sentinelese. No outsider speaks their language. The population is estimated to number between 50 and 150 people, and it's unclear if the number is stable. In the later 20th century, the Indian government, which administers the Andaman and Nicobar Islands archipelago to which the North Sentinel Island belongs, attempted to make contact with the Sentinelese, attempts that usually ended with a volley of projectiles fired by the island's residents from the shoreline. And North Sentinel Island was in the news recently, after a 26-year-old Christian missionary attempted to contact them and convert them to his religion. But not only is this island legally off limits, its residents are also extremely hostile to outsiders. The missionary was killed immediately with an arrow to the heart. People had little sympathy for his mission, and his body was never recovered. With a death threat waiting for any visitor, it seems that North Sentinel Island will remain off limits for some time. Ilha da Queimada Grande, also known as Snake Island, is an island off the coast of Brazil in the Atlantic Ocean. The island is well named. It's home to one snake per every square foot, most of which are fatally venomous. Legends even state that if fishermen brought their boots too close to the island, snakes would swim out and devour them. Pit vipers make up the majority of the island's snake population. This is particularly alarming because these snakes constitute 90% of Brazil's snakebite fatalities. Their venom proves fatal in only an hour. Because the island is 90 kilometers off the coast of Brazil, there's virtually no chance of making it back to shore in time to receive medical attention. Snake Island is uninhabited now, but people used to live there for a short period up until the late 1920s, when according to legend, the local lighthouse keeper and his family were killed by vipers that slithered in through the windows. Today, the Navy periodically visits the lighthouse for upkeep and makes sure no adventurers are wandering too close to the island. Obviously, the island is forbidden for anyone outside the Navy, but there isn't a huge demand among tourists and locals anyway. Heard Island, also known as Big Ben, is an island off the coast of Australia in the Indian Ocean. When most people think of islands, they imagine a sunny beach retreat, but this island contains a snowy massif and Australia's tallest peak. With a penguin population and a frigid climate, Heard Island has much more in common with neighboring Antarctica than it does with mainland Australia. It takes 7 full days by boat to reach the island. The trip is only taken by fishermen and the occasional research scientist. But Heard Island isn't only treacherous because of its cold climate, it's also home to an extremely active volcano. It became Australia's second active volcano when it broke its 75,000-year dormancy in 1992, according to UNESCO. A large eruption in 1996 saw the island double in size to 2 square kilometers. Even more bizarre, this volcano is not near any major tectonic fault, meaning that it sprouts from the middle of a tectonic plate. Volcanoes like these make up less than 5% of the world's volcanoes and are not well researched or understood. Because volcanoes are potentially deadly and extremely unpredictable, this island is off limits, even if you could manage to find transport to this remote corner of the Earth.